You just got engaged and you want to have a garden wedding and you don't know how to go about it. Stick with me as I show you practical ways how to have a garden wedding on a budget. Now, 3 years ago, I got married to my husband in a simple garden wedding. So I'm going to be taking of how we're able to achieve it without breaking the bank on a budget. I wouldn't say small, or I would have titled this how to have a wedding on a small budget, but small is relative. 100 million naira to someone might be huge, to another person might actually be small. So it's better to just say on a budget, on your budget. So, and I am going to be giving you a breakdown of how we're able to achieve our garden wedding in Lagos, Nigeria. Themed countryside Afrocentric wedding. Stick with me.
I really like you, and it's true. There is only one, just you. I find it hard to say, I wish you knew I am on your...
Alright, the first thing is to both sit down and determine your budget. How much are you willing to spend on this wedding? And I'm going to say this, please, you don't need to break banks, or you don't need to collect a loan. You're not impressing anyone for your wedding. The wedding is just a day. Your marriage is a lifetime thing, and you need all the funds that you can get to actually start your life together, right? The priorities, and do your thing. Stick to your budget. Yeah, this is the book we used in planning our wedding. Yes, this is the book we used in writing out all the budgets, all the things we want to spend, and how we want to go about our wedding. And we both sat down, we talked to ourselves, how much do you have your account, how much are you willing to drop, and all that. And I need the wedding registry too. I'm going to show you the wedding registry in this video. Add talk with your parents. I remember that when we wanted to have a garden wedding, I spoke to my parents about having a garden wedding, that I didn't want to into church building, and then they felt like, why didn't you want to get married in church? You kept yourself all this while. And then I had to change that notion, and I bless God for the pastors that joined us, that really understood this. The church is not the building, it is the people. Down to have that heart talk with our parents so they could understand. And then we took them, especially my mom. I took my mom to the venue. We took her to the venue of the place we'll be having our garden wedding, so she can have a view and see what we wanted to do. Another thing I remember we did was we played videos of people that have had garden weddings, and then I also told her that. And then we also mentioned the fact that in the scripture, man, and they put them in the Garden of Eden. It wasn't a mistake that I put them in a garden. Yes, it wasn't a mistake. And the first man, Adam, met his wife. God brought his wife to him in the garden. They got married in the garden. The first wedding could have happened in the garden. Then we're on the right track. All right, so we had the heart-to-heart talk with our parents so they could allow us and see the reason why we are doing this, because it had always been my dream to have a garden wedding. And thankfully I met it when I met my husband. I started talking about wedding. He too said the same thing. I was really excited. Just Ivy on social media, because if you do, you would then you're going to invite quite a number of people that you do not plan. So that takes us to the next point, where you have to have a guest list. So if you want to have a garden wedding, a small garden wedding, then you can have a guest of, let's say, 1,000, 2,000. So we noticed that for the garden wedding, all we could take was just 100 people. Yes. And myself and my husband sat down, we wrote out our guest list. See, you don't have to invite everybody that you have ever known in this world. And we also had that conversation with our parents. You don't have to invite everybody that you've known. Want to have everyone. We love our friends, loved ones. We know quite a number of people, and quite a number of people know us. But we knew that we couldn't just accommodate everyone if we are going to have that kind of wedding. And so we had to go down, really, really go down on our guest list. And another thing I know we did was that we put our wedding on an unusual date. I said I'm going to be just very practical, which is to help. Yes, so I fixed it on a weekday. If you fix your wedding on an unusual date, one, what it does is that it makes the hall cheaper. Also, it makes the venue you want to use cheaper, and then your guest list will also be small. Cut down on your bridal train. I remember that I had just 3 bridal train, just 3. So I didn't want to have quite a long train, knowing that our guest list has to be very small if we were going to achieve the garden wedding setting we want. And so I had to cut down on that. My husband also had to cut down on his own groomsmen. So I'm gonna say this. Let me just go down to talking to you about the expenses and everything we spent on having our garden wedding. All right, so we had our church wedding in a garden in Lagos. So when we decided that we were going to have a garden wedding, we started going around Lagos looking for a garden that suits what we wanted. Lagos has quite a number, not so many. There was one on Airport Road, there was one on the Highland, and about 2 in Ikeja. We saw quite a number of them, and we visited to see. There was one we got to that was really, really lovely, but the budget was just too high. The cost of using that space was just too high, and we considered it. Even if you are going to pay for it, the fact that we still have to bring in chairs, bring in our decor, we just said no, we don't have the fund to do this. So we decided to keep searching, and we told ourselves that we are not going to go over and beyond for this wedding. Yes, the most important thing for us is our marriage, and we're going to save up everything we can to have a beautiful marriage. And I'm glad we made that decision. Not that 3 years down the line in our marriage we are still paying debt. No, God forbid. You don't have to come and impress anybody because you want to get married. Please live between your house. Nobody, when you're hungry and you're looking for money for gas, people will not show up for you by that time. They would say, so you could have that elaborate wedding and you can't afford this. So please just make sure you just work with the budget, whatever it is that you can have. So we went to GGT Park for a date. It was quite new at that time, and we saw that space. My husband said we can actually have our wedding here. We went around and said we can have the setting year and all that. So we reached out to them and told them we wanted to get married in the garden, in the garden park. And they're like, nobody has ever done a wedding here. But we said we don't mind being the first, but we'll do it here. And so they gave us a go ahead. For that garden, for that space, we paid 50,000 naira, because at that time nobody, like I mentioned, had ever done a wedding there. And so the budget there, they just felt okay. After our wedding, I heard that, and for people that reached out to me, and then I gave them the contact of the manager there. They told us that the price had gone up more than 10 times 10, times 5. That's about 250,000 of the price we paid now. So we paid 50k for that wedding, for that space, right? Chairs. We contacted Adisa Decor, and they rented those chairs for us at 250 per one, and we brought in 100. That's about 25,000 naira for the chairs, for the garden chairs. Those chairs are called garden chairs. They are different. They are different from the regular chairs. So we rented that one for 25,000 naira. The decor, I think that was for 50k or so. It's really beautiful. So for the decor, for the chair, for renting it, we didn't spend up to 300,000 naira. Yes, to have that garden wedding. What else did we spend? So that was it. Seriously, that was basically all. Except, okay, for my gown, my husband's gown, what else did we use there? Okay, so that was it. So that was the amount we spent on our garden wedding. But we had to rent a hall for our reception. So after we had our garden wedding there, we asked them if we could set it up for eating and all, have a tent somewhere that people can eat, and they said they wouldn't allow people to do that in there. So we got a hall in Ikeja. People was in the planning of every detail, because if you put God first in everything, it just makes ways for you. Things were just falling in place for us. Things were just working for us. A souvenir we gave out to our guests. So and I really I've kept this souvenir for 3 years, and I'm going to keep it for a long time. So this is it. And because I do this for people, and so I know the cost of materials and all that, and so it was more like I did it, so it didn't really cost me so much. So for producing it cost me about 30k. So and the beautiful part of it was that, do you know, this is another way to cut costs on your wedding. We made our daughter also have our program. Look at it. We made the souvenir, the daughter also have our program inside. So we didn't have to print a program separately and get jotters and souvenir separately. So we just put it inside here, and it turned out well. Order program, order photograph, the toast, and that is it. And there's something we did while we were courting and preparing for our marriage that we were led to do. We reached out to some couples and interviewed them, and so we asked them questions about what sustained their marriage, questions about their marriage, and so we printed that in here. We printed that in the front cover of the jotter. So one of it is that, for instance, we interviewed Mr. and Mrs. Kayode, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Kayode, who had been married for 5 years then. Now it's been 8 years. They said God first. So we said, what is the secret of your long-lasting marriage? They said God first, forgiving heart, conviction from God, adequate communication, a lot of patience and tolerance, zero comparison. So they said no two marriage is the same. Don't compare others to yours. They said partners, sexual demand, balance. Yes, so quite a number of. And then we also interviewed Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Agola, my dad, my second dad and mom. They had been married for 37 years at that time. So they said love, it begins understanding. If you love someone truly, you seek to study and understand them. And they said perseverance, compromise, obedience, correct with love, and always pray together. So I'm going to still want to know the content, what's inside. You can reach out to me on my Instagram at Omomayeni, and I'll DM me, and I'm going to send it to you. So that was another way we cut course. We put program inside our souvenir, right?
Instagram.
All the party way then they do for Lagos City. Now there where you go find the money receipt. She know they carry last year, she know they greedy. Yeah, yeah.